sort of how you got to where you are? So the A levels you chose and those sorts of things, would that be a good starting place?
Yeah. So I'm Sam Roby. I am a 2009 leaver, which is over a decade ago, which is frightening. I did history, economics, and English language at A level, and I got 2 A's and a B. So okay, but not the best. I studied history at Newcastle University. I chose history rather than law because I was really interested in history, and I got advised it's actually quite good to do something a bit different than just doing straight up law. And also I heard that law was very hard to do as a degree, so I didn't fancy doing that for 3 years. And if I'm brutally honest, I fancy doing something I really enjoyed. I did my GDL at John Moores after I graduated in 2012. And then I did the LPC. So, sorry, the GDL is the conversion course. I did the LPC, the legal practice course, the year after at BPP University, which is like a law school, but I think they do accountancies and stuff, which all law students have to do irrespective of if you've done a law degree or a conversion. Then I was fortunate enough to obtain a training contract at DWF. I started my training contract in 2017. The year before, I actually worked in my gap year, in between travelling for a year at Merchants, so that was really good. So in 2017, I started my training contract, and I did 6 4-month seats. The first seat was insured litigation, which was really good because it was a real throw into the deep end and understanding litigation and how courts work, etc. That's the only time I touched litigation. The second seat was business restructuring, which is insolvency, which I found quite boring, if I'm frank. The third seat, I was fortunate enough to do a secondment to Manchester United, which I did commercial law in, and that was fantastic. So I worked at Old Trafford with their legal team and did an array of interesting work, from image right contracts to advise on sponsorship agreements with the club. And it was the summer Mourinho and Pogba and Zlatan arrived, so it was a really interesting time to be at the club. So that really inspired me and gave me the hunger to go in-house, so outside of a law firm, and go into sports law, because I love sports, and I've had a sort of vague ambition to try and get into sports, but that really sharpened the focus. And you know, I had as a comment on my CV, and I thought if I've got Manchester United, a big brand like that on my CV, it would definitely open up the doors to go elsewhere. Anyway, my fourth seat in my training contract was real estate, which I hated. That's property law. I just absolutely couldn't stand it. And then my final seat was group legal at DWF. And group legal is the in-house function at DWF. So again, I wanted that in-house experience. And DWF's quite an aggressive law firm, and they've carried out quite a few acquisitions. So it was advising on those acquisitions and advising on the business generally, like any business needs a legal advisor, so does a law firm. And I had a fantastic boss, Vic Henthorne, and she was a major factor in the reason I qualified into that team. So I qualified in 2017, I think. Is that what I told you? I think that's right. I can't remember. I qualified in 2017, and then worked in the group legal function for a year and a bit. And then last year, in March 2019, I joined Adidas, and I absolutely love my time at DWF. It's a great law firm. If you guys are thinking about getting into law, I definitely advise you trying to take advantage of your contacts to get work experience at DWF. And if you wanted to look at training contracts when you get to that stage, DWF's a fantastic place to work. Adidas was just an opportunity I couldn't turn down because it's such a big brand. So yeah, I've been there just over a year now, and I work in the North Legal team, and we cover the Benelux, the Nordics, and UK and Ireland. So that's interesting in itself, that we have to advise cross-jurisdictionally. Just a few examples of what I do day to day. I do a lot of SPOMA contracts, sports marketing contracts, so they can be endorsement deals with footballers, rugby players, athletics. We're doing quite a lot of them recently because of the Olympics. Obviously, that's been pushed back a year, so that poses its own challenges to us. And Corona in general is totally changing my job at the minute. So a hell of a lot of challenges with Corona. Just for example, this morning I've been working on a boxer's contract, a really exciting up-and-coming boxer. Other examples of what I do, we do club sponsorship agreements, and that's probably the agreements I enjoy the most. So last year I did the renewal with Munster Rugby Club in Ireland, which is really interesting. We've recently announced our extension with FC Copenhagen, which I worked quite independently on that. So that's interesting because it's a Danish football club. And one of the big ones we've recently announced, which you may have seen in the news, we've announced our partnership with Celtic. So that was really interesting to work on. The whole team worked on that, and it's obviously a massive club. And that was announced, I think, about a month ago. So we will be their kit suppliers from next season, whenever that starts. And we've got a couple more announcements to come, which I can't speak about. One in particular I'm really excited about was a football club where I went to the stadium and did a negotiation in the director's boardroom, so that was great, just fantastic experience. Other examples of what I do, it's not all sport, we do a hell of a lot of influencer contracts. So recently done a contract with Kano, supporting our Superstar campaign. Kano's a great ambassador of Adidas, he really is. Another quite high profile one was Idris Elba. So you may have seen the Arsenal kit launch, and Idris featured heavily on that. So our team did the contract with Idris, so that was a really high profile, exciting one to do. Ian Wright as well featured in that, and we did the agreement with Ian Wright, and that kit launch was one of the most successful in the UK. It was a fantastic activation, and if you take a bit of time to look at the Arsenal kit launch, it is brilliant. So make sure you do that after this and see if you can spot Idris and Ian Wright. And then that's sort of the glamorous stuff, and we do a lot of not so glamorous stuff. Like, it's not all high profile work. There's a lot of, like any business, there's a lot of supplier contracts. We do IT contracts, which aren't the most interesting but very important. I advise a lot on data and GDPR because I did a hell of a lot of that at DWF, so I know a fair bit on that. Advise on competition law, and then we touch on employment and real estate law. And what I would say about in-house is, because you're not sat behind a desk, you're working with the business, you can just get sort of grandstanded whilst you're in the change room and someone come at you with a query. So you have to constantly be thinking on your feet and trying to manage people more so than anything. So that's a really important skill to have as an in-house lawyer. But yeah, that's a bit of a summary from me. So
there's a couple of questions coming through, and then I've got some that maybe some students are thinking about. So somebody's asked about what didn't you like about property law?
I just found it so boring. If I'm frank, the actual law, I just found it extremely dry. I know property law gets a bad rep as land law, and everyone's like, oh, well, it's a lot more interesting when you actually apply it. I just didn't find it was. I found it very procedural. I just didn't feel very motivated to apply it. And look, some people may absolutely love it. I've got friends who qualify into property and they love it. And I was like, what the hell are you doing that for? But they'll say to me, cool, it must be boring reading contracts all day. So it's just about getting as much experience as you can and finding your niche. What you actually study at university in terms of law, you may actually hate when you come to practicing it. So definitely during your training contract, try and get as much exposure as you can from different areas.
Somebody asked, do you think your history degree helped in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of commercial lawyers, what I find, so At Adidas, we instruct a lot of lawyers in the Nordics, because we're not Swedish lawyers, we're not Danish lawyers, and a lot of lawyers are quite academic and just give you the law. And I think history allowed me to have more of a holistic approach, because there's loads of themes in history like the economy, social things, and it allows you to holistically analyse things and pick out the important things. So yeah, it absolutely helped in that it led me to have other interest in the economy, for example, so I keep up to date in the economy, which is really important as a lawyer, because your clients, they want you to not just know the law, but they want you to know the economy, they want you to know their market. So that was a follow-up from that, and I definitely think doing economics at A level significantly helped me with that, having an understanding of how things work commercially. I did that for Mr. K. Is he still there, Mr. K?
Still there, yeah.
Yes, of course he is. So yeah, so I was in Mr. K's class, and he's great in that he doesn't just teach you the syllabus, he talks about different themes. When I was studying, it was the 2008 crash, so it's similar times with the coronavirus, and no doubt he'll be talking about similar themes. So it's really important to read around topics, and a big advice in staying up to date on current affairs is watch Question Time every week. It's an hour and a half of your time. It is quite interesting, but that would be my biggest advice on staying up to current affairs.
Okay. If a sports module is available on somebody's university course, is it worth them doing it, do you think?
Yeah, but it's not the be all end all, because I did a sort of sports and media module on my LPC, and there was one seminar on sports, so it's pretty pointless. Yeah. What's more important in terms of getting experience is if you've got any contacts that not necessarily are in law but are in the field of sports, that would look way better on your CV than a module. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I'd worry about getting really good grades.
How did you find getting your training contract? Was it very difficult?
Brutal to be honest. So I started applying when I was doing my GDL, and I cannot tell you the amount of knockbacks I've received. They must have literally been in their 70s. And some people are quite fortunate in that they'll apply to one place and get a training contract straight away. I wasn't. I had to constantly apply and really refine my applications and really refine my interview technique, how I present myself and that sort of thing. So if you want to go into law, you have to have a lot of resilience and just keep going and keep going. And I think you've just got to take the knockbacks. You really do, because you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, what am I doing wrong? And I really worked hard with the careers service and continually applying to get better. And the more interviews you do, the more confident you become. You find out in yourself what works, what doesn't. And what I found was, towards the end of applying to all these places, I was being more successful getting to latter stages in the interviews, and I had about 5 final interviews towards the end and picked DWF. But what I would say is just keep persevering, don't give up, and be ambitious. If you're getting knocked back by the big firms, don't let that knock you off, just keep going. Because I remember I was getting knocked back and my parents were like, oh, your ambition's a bit high with DWF. The likes of DWF should be aiming for someone a bit lower. And I think what's great about merchants teach you to back yourself. So just really aim high and push to get the goals and don't give up. I honestly see the amount of students who you help with and they give up and try and do something else. If this is really what you want to do, go in with eyes open, of course, but really persevere, and it does pay off.
Did you always know you wanted to do law, even when you chose history as a degree?
It was a vague idea. So Mr. Stanley set up in the work experience which you do every year in lower six, he set up a seminar with Brabner's in Liverpool, which is really good, because we asked the partner there about routes into law, and they said that actually it's becoming more and more common. People are doing different degrees, economics, history, geography, and then converting. Obviously, it's an extra year of expenditure and debt, which isn't great, but if you have another subject that you're interested in, I'd highly recommend doing it, in that it gives you a bit of more rounded view on things rather than just doing straight law.
So in terms of the people you work with, what do you think the percentage of sort of straight law degree to people that did the conversion?
I think it's now 50-50.
That's what, yeah.
Yeah, when I was applying, it was about 60-40. It's definitely now 50-50, if not swinging the other way to the conversion course.
Okay. Somebody's asked, do you think you absolutely need to do subjects like English or history at A-level to be able to do law?
No, absolutely not. You can do anything. So you could do chemistry, biology, and I know for a fact that really helps if you want to go into patents and that sort of thing, and intellectual property. You just have to show you have a level of intelligence. I actually think doing the likes of chemistry, physics, because they're such hard subjects, I found them very hard, would show that you're extremely bright. And I guess history and English, they're pretty stereotypical of a law student. Whereas if you came with different subjects like chemistry and physics, languages are very useful, by the way. If you've got a language, it's super useful, and law firms offer secondments. But if law firms see the same to people all the time. It's all about differentiating yourself from the employment market. And if you've got totally different subjects, that's great, because they'll want to ask you why. Whereas I went to interviews and they didn't ask me why I chose my A-levels. It's pretty obvious why I chose them. And it's a natural progression to go into law. So it's all about the job market is so competitive, and it's really hard to differentiate yourself. But if you've got different subjects, that's great. It's an asset, if anything.
Okay, and how did you end up getting your job with Adidas then?
So a fixed term contract came up at Adidas, and it was covering someone who went on to Common. So it was a bit of a gamble for me to apply, because I didn't know there'd be a job at the end of it, because it was only a fixed term. But I thought if I'd have Manchester United on my CV and Adidas for a year on my CV, that would look like a pretty strong CV for where I want to get to. So I just took a gamble. Unfortunately, they kept me on. So it was just a standard CV and covering letter application, not as complex as the training contracts application, and then an interview. So I got it on the back of that interview, which was great.
Okay, and somebody's asked, why do you think languages are so useful?
Just the globalization of the world at the minute. They're just, I just think they are critical. Like our sports marketing team, who are based in Amsterdam, put a job out recently to say they were looking for a Spanish-speaking lawyer. So if you were English qualified and had Spanish in your back pocket, you'd be an absolute key asset for them. And a lot of transactions are international. If you've got a language and you can go on a call and speak in German to a German lawyer or a German commercial guy, it just helps the relationship, and it opens up doors in that you can work in different jurisdictions. Fortunately, I did ask the speaking language is English, so even in Germany you have to speak English, but it does help having another language in your back pocket. I wish I did. It's something I would look forward to learning eventually, but yeah, if you've got one, that's absolutely great.
Somebody's asked about whether you think artificial intelligence could possibly replace lawyers in the future.
It's a really good question. Hopefully not. I'm still in a job. But what's great about Adidas compared to law firms is that they definitely embrace the tech. So in terms of automation, I've actually started doing a bit of coding myself. So rather than drafting a big long contract, I can put certain things into boxes and it spits out a contract. So that's great. I think the question maybe relates to the sort of ambitious projects that we're seeing where you can just give a machine a contract and it can tell you what's wrong with it. I think we are quite far away from that, and we always need a bit of a human touch. That being said, lawyers are going to have to adapt to the tech, definitely. And what's great about Adidas is we've got a legal solutions department, and they're always embracing the tech. So definitely don't fear the technology, and you've got to try and embrace it and really get up to speed on certain tech things. But in terms of it replacing full stop, I just can't see that happening. You need a human element in every walk of life. It may totally reduce the admin and the churn and those sorts of things, but there will always be a role for human lawyers, I think.
Somebody's asked, how did you manage to narrow down your options to one single type of law?
So when I keep talking about sports law, it's not really sports law, it's commercial law. So contracts, etc. So I had a vague idea I wanted to specialise in commercial because I quite like contracts, studying it, and I had the idea of doing secondments in different places, and invariably you do commercial law when you do that. But there's no better way to narrow down what you want to specialise in than experience in it, and both my experience at Manchester United and in group legal doing commercial law just led me to the view that that's what I want to do. And also the opportunities, I realised with commercial law there's way more opportunities to go in-house. There are opportunities in employment law, real estate to go in-house, and they are increasing, but not quite as widespread as commercial law.
Okay. Somebody's asked about, are you learning a coding language at the moment?
No, it's so basic. It's like Microsoft Word, and it's just entering in boxes, and what happens is a box pops up and people can type stuff in. It is so primitive. So no, I'm not.
Somebody's asked any benefits when working for Manchester United or Adidas?
Not for Manchester United because I'm a Liverpool fan, so I've got stick for 4 months. But Adidas, yes, so many benefits. We get 44% discount, and we get 10 codes each month we can give to friends and family. I do a lot of travelling, international travelling, which is really cool. So, for example, I was in Sweden visiting the Solna office in January, which seems a lifetime ago. Back in December, I visited our HQ in Herzog, which is the global HQ, which is an unbelievable campus. It's incredible. The German national team were actually going to base there for the Euros. Obviously, the Euros is getting pushed back. So definitely the international travel I'm enjoying. Prior to the coronavirus, I was due to do a secondment to the Singapore office for 6 months. That's been put on the shelf, unfortunately. So that's just another great example of Adidas and just how they really push interconnectivity with all the other jurisdictions. It's such a great place to work. It really is.
Got one here. Are secondment opportunities easy to come by?
Secondment. I was a bit bullshit and I really pushed doing well. With Manchester United, I had to do an interview for it again, and there were 3 other applicants, and I was fortunate enough to get it. And I was really pushing that I wanted to get this interview because I was based in the Liverpool office, and it was technically a Manchester seat. So I really pushed that. What I would say is when applying to law firms, do your research and have a look at ones which do secondments. I know DWF have done a secondment to Adidas. We had a DWF trainee last year, and they do a secondment now to Manchester City. Eversheds do one to Manchester United. I'm trying to think of who else. Just do your research, because the big firms, they do secondments because it's great for relationship building with the client.
Okay.
So just have a look at law firms. Are they hard to come by? Yes and no. It just depends what law firm you're applying to.
Okay. Somebody said, as you support both Leeds and Liverpool, if a role came up at both clubs, which one would you take?
Liverpool, and that's not true.
That was from Alex, by the way.
Yeah, I guessed.
Um, I guess that was it in terms of the questions the student asked. I wanted to ask you if you had any advice for current students applying in the next couple of years, any university advice or any general advice that you'd give to students?
Yeah, so in terms of picking university, go and visit it definitely. And if you're applying to Red Bricks, look, I don't think employers look at Red Bricks and saying, oh God, like Newcastle's better than Liverpool or Manchester's better than Newcastle. They're all pretty much the same, I think. Obviously, when you get to the likes of Durham, Oxbridge, they're a different level. But in terms of the Red Bricks, which I applied to, they're all the same. So even when you're looking at these league tables in terms of degree, I don't think it matters too much because employers don't care about that. They just want to see, right, he's gone to a Red Brick, he's got 2 on, that's a tick box. So my advice would be go and visit the cities and get comfortable in the city and the accommodation you want to go to. Because invariably it doesn't really matter which Red Brick you go to. Obviously, if you've got the opportunity to go to top-notch universities like Durham, like Oxbridge, like the London ones, yes, snap your hands off because that will make a difference. But in terms of the unis I applied to, I don't think there was too much difference. So it's all about location, I would say.
Okay. I wondered as well, you mentioned just briefly about working from home before when we were chatting between ourselves. And obviously you did mention coronavirus has stopped you travelling.
Yeah.
Do you think there'll be any long-term impacts on Adidas with the current crisis?
Yeah, but I kind of want to steer clear of talking about Adidas and coronavirus because it all has to go through our press team, really. So sorry to dodge the question, but in terms of like the long-term effects on working from home and these sort of things, I think all businesses have had to set up to work from home, and I don't think there's any going back from this. And all businesses are going to have to be flexible and allow people to work from home. And in terms of how that will affect I think it will actually help women a lot more in the workplace in that obviously women have kids and a big challenge to that is, especially in law, is their ability to work from home, and a lot of law firms aren't flexible. So hopefully this will allow, they are becoming more flexible, but hopefully there's no going back from this and we'll see a lot more women in more senior roles, and we are seeing a bit of a step change there. So only positive things in terms of working from home. I think I personally hate it. Like I hate working from home. I hate being cooped up. Some people are a lot more efficient working from home. What I will say about Adidas is we've got this My Arena concept. So you pick the arena you are best at working in. So if people are best at working from home, they can work from home for 4 days a week. Adidas is really flexible in that respect. I am much more efficient working in work and getting out of bed than actually going to work, which I prefer, and I find it easy to switch off if you don't work from home. If you actually go in, so that's what my personal view on it is. But everyone's different.
Okay. And have any students got any more questions they'd like to ask Sam? Lisa from our alumni team has asked, what are your best memories of Merchants?
Oh, best memory, I would say, was my last rugby fixture against Hutton Grammar. And Hutton Grammar, I don't know how good they are, they're a really good team at the time. And we beat them 33-0. And it was like the best rugby performance I've ever been involved in. We were brilliant that day, and it was great that it was the last fixture at Merchants. And I still talk about that with my mates now. So that, but just, yeah, I absolutely love my time at Merchants. I haven't got bad words to say about it. So you guys, I'm sure you'll find out you're very fortunate to have gone there. And what I would say is absolutely milk your contacts and don't be ashamed of milking your contacts that you've built up through Merchants, because that's what it's all about.
I'm just going to see if there's any more questions coming through. We really appreciate your time, Sam. So unless students have got any more questions to ask, you're more than welcome to leave the chat now. And Sam, would you mind hanging on just in case anyone does ask anything?
Yes, no problem.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Don't go anywhere.
I won't. That's Patrick Jones.
Yeah, I'm sort of slightly concerned about some of the questions that might be coming through. Somebody said Crestcat. He's probably going to get you to sing the school anthem in a minute. Yeah. Somebody did go into merchants. Oh, they're all saying thank you. Did go into merchants affect your law career? Or do you think you could have got where you were today if you'd gone to just a normal state school? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. If I'm frank, if I didn't go to merchants, I think I wouldn't have ended up at a red brick, because what I think is really good about merchants is it's not like, oh, you might get an A. It's like, no, you will get an A, and they really push you to it. So I think, knowing the way I am, the sort of discipline and the ambition merchants puts into you really helps. And if I'm brutally honest with myself, would I have been able to do that if I went to like a state school? Would I have had the maturity to like really work hard at that stage? I don't think so. So merchants have definitely helped me, and I don't think I would have got to where I am without merchants. That sounds like a really big plug for merchants.
I know I didn't ask you to say that, but I mean, it was absolutely perfect, so thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's probably it in terms of questions, Sam. I'll probably let you go and get some lunch, because I know you've been on calls all morning.
Yeah, cool. No,
thank you very much. Really, really appreciate your time.
If anybody has any follow-up questions which they think about after, happy to answer them. My email is samuel.roby@adidas.com. That's Samuel.
Perfect. I'll write that down. So
yeah, samuel.roby.com. Just another thing which is worth mentioning, we've actually had 2 old girls do work experience with us in February.
Okay.
And we've got a pretty good work experience system, which we're quite proud of.
Is that for university students or sixth form students?
It can be both. It can be both. It's not. There's no like rule on it. But what I would say is, obviously that's not happening at the minute. And what we try to do is bunch them all together. So we had 4 come in February. So I think we try to do that twice a year.
Okay.
So when things normalise, I'd definitely be more than happy to take work experience requests. And I think the two girls, Sophia and Charlotte, had a really good time there. And obviously they've got that on their CV. And when you're applying to places, you can stick week's work experience at Adidas, and that instantly makes you different to someone else. And I always am happy to help out alumni. So please get in contact if you just need any general career advice in law.
Thank you, that's really helpful. I've written your email down, and hopefully when we're back in school, I'll send you an email about possible work experience. That'd be really helpful.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, well, thank you very much, Sam.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, guys.
Bye now.